Good morning and welcome to the First Unitarian Society. My name is Jim Fody and I am your Assistant Sabbatical Minister. Today I'm joined by my colleague, the Reverend Kelly Asrpooth-Jackson, and the worship team of Linda Warren, Drew Collins, Stephen Gregorius, and Daniel Carnes. Special thanks and warm greetings to our Meeting House Chorus for sharing the gift of their voices with us this morning. At First Unitarian Society, we question boldly, listen humbly, grow spiritually, act courageously, and love unapologetically. If you are visiting us today, welcome. We are so very glad you are with us. Please know that the chairs will be different for your second visit than they are today. If you're visiting and you would like more information about First Unitarian Society, please stop by the welcome table located in the Commons, which is right out there. We hope you'll be able to stay and join us for coffee hour immediately after the service, which is also in the Commons. For those connecting with us virtually today, we are glad you are with us as well, and we hope you'll be able to take a moment and watch the announcement slides after today's service to learn about upcoming programs and activities. And now I invite you to join me in a moment of silence to center ourselves and to bring ourselves fully into this time as we join together once again in community. As we enter into worship, put away the pressures of the world that ask us to perform, to take up masks, to put on brave fronts.
Silence the voices that ask you to be perfect. Huh? This is a community of compassion and welcoming.
You do not have to do anything to earn the love contained within these walls.
You do not have to be braver, smarter, stronger, better than you are in this moment to belong here with us.
You only have to bring the gift of your body, no matter how able, your seeking mind, no matter how busy, your animal heart, no matter how broken.
Bring all that you are and all that you love to this hour together. Come, let us worship together. And now I invite you to rise in all the ways that we do and join me in the words of affirmation for the kindling of our chalice flame. May this chalice bring us to the precipice of truth, where nothing can be hidden from the flame, and may we find the reckoning place where our souls burst open and into the liberating light. Now we invite you to take a moment to turn to those around you and greet each other with signs of love and peace. Take up your silver and gray hymnals if you have them, or otherwise I'll direct you to the screen as we sing together hymn number 18, What Wondrous Love, number 1-8. What wondrous love is this, O my soul, my soul. What wondrous love is this, O my soul. Of my soul. And now I'm going to invite forward anyone who'd like to come up here and hear a story with me. A lot of things are different this morning, but there's still space on the carpet if you want to join us. Good morning, good morning.
908.
Oh, that's 908. Well, thank you very much for letting me know. It's good to see you today. How are you doing? Good. I'm glad to hear it. So I'm going to start off with a question, and before I ask you this question, I want to stress that you don't have to answer it. It's all right. But I'm going to ask it anyway because maybe somebody would like to answer it, which is also okay. And even if you don't choose to answer it out loud, maybe you have an answer for yourself. So here is my question. Have you ever been to a hospital before?
Yeah.
Anybody feel
I
it?
haven't.
You have not?
I forgot.
Yes? Maybe yes, maybe no. Hard to remember. I'd be willing to wager a guess that there's somebody here who has been, somebody maybe on the carpet, who has been to a hospital before but doesn't remember it. That would be a believable outcome. Yes. Well, thank you. I have as well. So some of us have, some of us haven't, some of us maybe yes, maybe no. Did you want to?
What I was there for?
If you want to.
I jammed this thumb in the car door.
Oh, no. I'm so sorry.
The nail
Thumbs.
was jellyish.
Ooh.
Really gross, and then we had to cut the nail off.
Ah, okay. So it was painful and it was gross. But you were glad that there was a hospital, right? It was good for you. They took care of you, they helped you get better. Yeah.
My nail was purple.
Oh, it was purple. Ooh, that doesn't sound good. Yeah. When you were born, yes, that was sort of what I was thinking. I was like, yeah, I bet there's somebody here who was in the hospital, because not everybody's born in the hospital, but a lot of people are. And so that might be a reason why you would have been to one, but wouldn't remember it necessarily. Yeah. Me too. I was also born in a hospital. So, some of us have direct experience with hospitals. So tell me about the hospital. What's it like there? What do you know about the hospital? At least the ones you've been to. It smells funny. It smells funny. Yes.
Oh, so this is what it's like, and also another reason I've been there. Can I tell you about the
Sure.
I broke my wrist and my foot.
Oh no, I'm so sorry that happened.
Yeah, and so it's terrifying because I thought that they said the fracture might have been kind of running up to the growth plate.
Oh.
So I was terrified I would have to get surgery, but on the bright side, I didn't have to get a metal rod in my arm.
I see. So it was scary. It hurt. You were worried about what might happen, but there was some good news because it wasn't as bad as you were worried it was going to be. I see your hand. Yeah.
So like once a day when I was walking on stub stairs
Yeah.
that were
Oh.
actually real stubs that were going higher and higher, I walked on them and went to the biggest one, and then I bumped my cheek really hard on one, and then it started bleeding.
Oh no. And then you had to go to the hospital?
Well, I didn't.
Oh, thankfully you didn't have to go to the hospital. But it hurt and you were hurt and yeah.
And it did take a lot to.
It took a lot of Band-Aids, yes. Hospital can be a place where you go if you need a lot of Band-Aids, depending on the overall number of Band-Aids and other factors. Thea.
Once I didn't have to go to the hospital, but it was still hurt.
Oh.
And I was skipping along the sidewalk, literally just skipping on the sidewalk.
Okay.
And then I tripped, landed on my cheek, and then I needed like a patch on it, and I ripped,
Oh.
and my parents ripped it off in my sleep.
Well, I am so sorry to hear about our various injuries and illnesses, some of which required us to go to the hospital, some of which did not, but were nonetheless painful and serious, and I'm very sorry those things happened to us. Is there anything else we can think of about the hospital itself? We have funny smells. So far, that's the end of the list. Any other thoughts about the hospital? Yes. It's usually clean. Can you tell me anything about how you know that it's clean? Tonsils, okay. Oh. Yes, you can attest to the cleanliness from personal experience. I think, I'm wondering if maybe so it's simultaneously clean and stinks. I think a big part of what it smells like, maybe not the only factor, it smells clean because it stinks. It smells like cleaning things, right? Like things you use to clean stuff.
It smells like moldy cleaning things. I also have 3 broken bones right now.
Oh
My
no.
toe broken, and I have my radius broken, and I have my ulna broken.
Well, we have some maladies in our gathering today. So here's what I'm leading up to. Guess what? This was going somewhere. So a pretty long time ago, almost a whole 100 years in fact.
There wasn't clip-on earrings?
There probably weren't. I mean, I don't know how old clip-on earrings are. But there were 2 people, Albert Schweitzer and Helene Schweitzer. They were married, and they were from Europe, but they went to Africa, to, well, now it's the country of Gabon in West Africa. Good question. These particular people went from Europe to Africa, and their reason in going there was to start a new hospital. Now, there were already hospitals in Africa. Africa's a huge place. Africa's a whole continent. It's enormous. There were already hospitals, but in this particular part of Africa, there wasn't one. So they were trying to make sure that the people in this particular part of the whole continent of Africa, in what is now the country of Gabon, had access to medical care, so that if they broke a bone, if they injured their cheek, if they got blood cancer, there was a place where they could go.
And if they broke their radius and their ulna?
If their radius, their ulna, anything like that, there was a place that they could go and get better, right? But here is the thing about this hospital. It was different from a lot of other hospitals. You go to Africa today, there's tons of hospitals. I mean, you know, it's important to remember Africa is a very modern place, just like this is a very modern place, and there are all of the fine amenities and things you're used to seeing in a conventional hospital in the United States. But that hospital there was different. Here's how it was different. It wasn't all one building. It wasn't like one big building. It didn't smell all like cleaning products. It was more like a series of little houses. It was like a village where you would go in order to get better if you were sick. So like a village, just like the people in the countryside lived in, except that they would go there and there would be doctors and nurses to help them get better. And just like a village, it was full of different people. People who were sick, but also people who weren't and were there to look after their families, or people who were there in order to sell goods in the marketplace, because there was a market in their little hospital village. And there were lots of animals. Normally,
And people that broke their bones?
people that broke their bones, that's right. That's one of the reasons you would go to the hospital. There were lots of animals. Normally, they don't let non-human animals into the hospital in most circumstances, but there were cows and there were pigs. There were all sorts of things like that. So people would say, Dr. Schweitzer and Helene, his wife, I'm trying to keep Helene in the story. She gets cut out of the story a lot, so I'm trying to keep her name in there. Helene Schweitzer was her name. That they would ask, why are you letting all these people wander around your hospital who aren't even sick? Why are you letting animals come into town? Why aren't you treating this like a normal hospital? And do you know why? Do you know what they said? They said, animals make you feel better. I like that answer. Animals can definitely make you feel better. So I think that's a pretty good answer. But the answer I have in mind, which is also, fine, is that this is what the people knew. This is the way they lived their lives. They needed a place where they could keep living their normal lives and get better, because they could never be sure who needed the most help. So they just needed to help everybody who came to the hospital. We take care of each other. I like that, Anne. Yes, thank you. I see several hands. What is it you would like to say?
She can go first.
Okay?
So I think that, I think scientists maybe have done maybe a test on this, not completely true, but maybe a tiny bit, that animals can actually help you feel better if you're like sick or broken arm. Maybe it's because they like distract you from like if you're sick or have a broken arm or something like that, or something like that. people that aren't sick go in because they like to visit, like, maybe their family.
Yes, if you go to like the hospital across the street, say, you can visit your family there if you have somebody who's sick or in the hospital. There you go,
The
yes.
hospital across the street is the one I went to for my radius.
Aha.
Also, yeah, animals do help people feel better. And people with pet dogs actually are very healthy.
Yeah. You know, animals help me feel better too. Yes.
So this dog, when my cat Fiber had cancer, this passed away.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And my baby kittens made me feel.
Oh, the kittens made you feel better. Yes, I love that. So here is my little punchline to this story. Besides the fact that I think it's kind of neat and it was a creative idea for how to build a hospital, even though if you go to that hospital today, it's still there, but it looks like a more conventional hospital. They built a different building. It smells like cleaning products now. There's fewer animals walking around, but it smells like regular cleaning products. But here's my little punchline. Albert Schweitzer, I don't know about Helene. This is a problem. It's a hole in my information. I'm sorry. But Albert Schweitzer, I know, just like us, was a Unitarian. How about that? So now we're going to sing you to your classes.
That's what that story was about? Oh, ye can make the world so bright, and you can turn the day from night, and share your gifts and spread your light, and learn what you know. Let's remain seated and sing the hymn 1009, Meditation on Breathing. We'll sing the breathe in, breathe out line 2 times. And the when I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love line 3 times. Do that one more time. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love.
If you follow the course of a river from its headwaters to where it meets the sea, the chances are large that it will not appear always to move at the same rate and speed. Where the river narrows, or rocks or other obstructions render it particularly shallow, rapids form. Portions that are challenging or exciting or dangerous to navigate. But in between these may be found much slower portions, where a boat or a swimmer might float along gently at a leisurely pace. Below the surface, however, the river still courses. It is only that here, its speed has been traded for breadth or depth. At this time, we reach such a portion of our service when we are invited by the shape of this moment to rest. So now, in order that we might drift more slowly and let speed give way to depth, let us spend this moment together, resting in reverent quiet. Amen. What does love require of us? I'm a big fan of the clever sermon title, even if I'm not all that great at them. But sometimes a topic seems important enough that you just need to get right to it. As you are hopefully already aware, our movement is presently in a state of discernment, considering a rewriting of part of the shared agreement between our individual free congregations. The part under consideration is the section of our association's bylaws in which we describe ourselves to ourselves. As a living faith tradition, from our institutional beginnings, when the Unitarians and the Universalists in the United States and Canada came together to form a single movement in 1961, this self-articulation has always been rewritable, and in fact, has been rewritten several times. It currently includes a text that you probably know as the 7 Principles. For most of my life, that has been the most popular shorthand way of explaining Unitarian Universalism. New wording for that text was preliminarily approved at our association's annual governance meeting last year and will be up for a final vote at that same meeting this year. The new proposed wording names 7 values in order to try to distill who we are. In choosing the spiritual themes for this program year at FUS, my co-minister Kelly Crocker and I wanted to make sure that we touched on all 7 of those values, giving us time to consider and reflect on them together. Today, I want to talk with you about the first of those values, love. So here, let me quote from the draft wording of this proposed document, which says, "Love is the power that holds us together and is at the center of our shared values. We are accountable to one another for doing the work of living our shared values through the spiritual discipline of love." Now, a reminder, again, that this wording is proposed, and that even if it is officially incorporated into our national bylaws, that does not mean that you will be obliged to like it. One of the very few things that our tradition officially rejects is the administration of creedal tests. And there are many different ways that folks articulate and describe what it means to be a Unitarian Universalist. And since this language is being considered by our association collectively, it seems worthwhile to me to consider. If love is at our center, what would that mean in practice? If we were accountable to each other for how we practice love, what would that mean we should be encouraging each other towards? And what would it mean we should be warning each other against? Now, a little story here. This may well be an apocryphal one. I was not there when it happened, and I cannot swear that it did. But the story goes that some years ago, an international meeting of Unitarians, Universalists, and Unitarian Universalists was trying to craft a shared statement between them. You may know that there are a number of cousin movements to ours in different parts of the world, and that the very oldest of these is in the ethnically Hungarian communities of Transylvania. In just one illustration of how widely varied the range of our global siblings are, the Transylvanian Unitarians have a bishop, and that bishop was at this meeting. In trying to craft a consensus document, much time was spent on the phrase spirit of life, a term popular among the American and Canadian Unitarian Universalists who are used to employing it as a name for something not quite effable that spoke to both the theists and the non-theists, which our branch has in very roughly equal proportion. The Transylvanian bishop did not recognize or resonate with this phrase. His tradition allows for differences of faith and belief, but it is a theistic tradition and does not shy away from God language. The bishop was, at first, puzzled and then perhaps a little concerned, until he asked who would be in charge of translating this document into the local language for each organization, the work up to that point having been done entirely in English. It was agreed immediately that each of the member branches should be in charge of their own translations in order to make sure that it communicated effectively to their own communities. The bishop was satisfied by this and withdrew his concerns, explaining that in Hungarian, the term spirit of life should be properly translated as God. Now, whether or not this story happened literally, it illustrates the truth that in our tradition, local communities handle their own translation. And most of this work comes down to individuals in practice. God is one of those terms that means different things to each of us. And so is love. There are no shortage of possible definitions for that word, nor of book-length efforts to explicate each one. The Buddhist teacher Thich Nhat Hanh identifies 4 elements to love: loving kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity. Erich Fromm, the psychologist and sociologist, offered his own list of 4: care, responsibility, respect, and knowledge. He also asserted that love is not primarily a relationship to a specific person. It is an attitude, an orientation of character which determines the relatedness of a person to the world as a whole, not toward one object of love. If a person loves only one other person and is indifferent to the rest of their fellow human beings, their love is not love, but a symbiotic attachment or an enlarged egotism. I'm going to pause here for a moment to make space for you to have your own thoughts about this, either reflecting to yourself, or if you are each mutually welcoming to it, with a neighbor. The round tables some of you are seated at may give you an excellent opportunity to turn towards someone you might not have turned towards otherwise. I want to invite you to answer this question, again, to yourself or with a neighbor. What qualities or virtues or practices would you name as being essential to love, as you understand it, either instead of or in addition to those 8 that I just named? I am going to ring this chime to invite us into this time of reflection, and I'll ring it again in a moment to invite us back out of it. Well, I'm glad that I got you talking to each other. I encourage you to follow whatever ideas about love have bubbled up for you here, and perhaps to share them with each other after the service. For my part, and wishing to take nothing away from either Fromm's or Thich Nhat Hanh's perspective, there are three things that come to mind for me today, not across the whole totality of time. This is not my systematic theology of love, but today, when I think about love and its claim on my life and how I live it, those three things are courage, hope, and tenacity. The author and activist, Adrienne Marie Brown, writes that when we are engaged in acts of love, we humans are at our best and most resilient. The love in romance that makes us want to be better people. The love of children that makes us change our whole lives to meet their needs. The love of family that makes us drop everything to take care of them. The love of community that makes us work tirelessly with broken hearts. Each of these examples, to me, require great courage. In another age, in another society, more communitarian in its bent, perhaps I would feel differently. But at this hour, in my context, to risk relationship seems a radical act. It pushes against all the prevailing trends toward isolation and mistrust in our culture. It opens us up to well-recognized opportunities for pain and disappointment. Lovers can betray us. Families can disown us. Communities can fall far short of our ideals and our dreams for them. Every time that we risk one of these relationships or anything like it, we risk anguish, so that it takes great courage to love. Gordon McKeeman was one of the most influential Unitarian Universalist ministers of the 20th century. About 30 years ago, in an essay written at the invitation of his colleagues, he spoke about love and its centrality to the faith to which he had devoted his life. A life which we should remember saw monumental changes in that faith. When Gordon was ordained, it was to the Universalist ministry. When he died, he had been a Unitarian Universalist for more than 50 years. In a passage from his essay, McKeeman reminds the reader that Robert Frost declared once in a poem that this should be his epitaph. I had a lover's quarrel with the world. From there, Gordon builds upon the theme. A lover's quarrel has this particular character. We are lovers. We say yes to each other. Yes to life, to more and more of life, to its brevity, its grief, its disappointments, to its possibilities, its magnificence, its glory. We quarrel because we glimpse further possibilities, the nonsense, and wish to lay claim to it. We remember death, and that life is brief, and that the time for love is now, and more is possible. One more step toward the holy. It is to know the peace that passes understanding, and that there is no peace. It is to love others as they are, warts and all, and to believe that more is possible, and to bespeak that wanting. It is to pray, "Give us this day our daily bread," and to know that we do not live by bread alone. It is to remember death, and to love life, and to accept them both as holy. His words remind me that love can make us quarrelsome with each other due to hope. Hope for the possibilities that we see in the people and the things we love. Quarrelsome due to seeing such possibilities go thwarted or unfulfilled. But more so, he points to how deeply intertwined the impulse and the practice of love are with the human predicament of mortality. Mark Morrison Reed, another minister and among the foremost living historians of Unitarian Universalism, speaks to this imperative to love, born out of our finitude. We are all dying, our lives always moving toward completion. We need to learn to live with death and to understand that death is not the worst of all things. We need to fear not death, but life. Empty lives, loveless lives, lives that do not build upon the gifts that each of us has been given, lives that are like living deaths, lives which we never take the time to savor and appreciate, lives in which we never pause to breathe deeply. What we need to fear is not death, but squandering the lives we have been miraculously given. So let me die laughing, savoring one of life's crazy moments. Let me die holding the hand of one I love and recalling that I tried to love and was loved in return. Let me die remembering that life has been good and that I did what I could. But today, just remind me that I am dying so that I can live, savor, and love with all my heart. Reinhold Niebuhr, the Christian theologian who was not a Unitarian or a Universalist, but proved very popular with both, wrote something about this also, a passage which eventually became one of the oft-used readings that is included in the back of our silver and gray hymnals. Nothing worth doing is completed in our lifetime. Therefore, we are saved by hope. Nothing true or beautiful or good makes complete sense in any immediate context of history. Therefore, we are saved by faith. Nothing we do, however virtuous, can be accomplished alone. Therefore, we are saved by love. And no virtuous act is quite as virtuous from the standpoint of our friend or foe as from our own. Therefore, we are saved by the final form of love, which is forgiveness. Now, whenever I consider hope, I always find myself returning to the definition offered by the Czech playwright, revolutionary, and politician Václav Havel. That it is not the expectation that good things will happen, but the determination that there are things which are good enough, that they must happen and are therefore worth working towards. But if I am affirming that hope does not require optimism, I don't mean that there is nothing to be optimistic about. Several years ago, my colleague Jen Crow's house caught fire in the night. It was a disaster which could not have been seen or prevented, and for which no one was to blame. She and her wife and their children had to rush hurriedly from their home, sacrificing the possibility of saving things in order to save their own irreplaceable lives. Thankfully, everyone made it out safe. That night, and the process of repair, reclamation, and grieving that followed led her to write a book about their experience. And in that book, we find these hopeful sentences. Love can work its way into improbable and impossible situations. Like water over stone, it has the potential to wear down our suffering, create new pathways of possibility, and support life in inhospitable terrain. Love can't fix every situation, but it does have a way of working on us and opening portals to our closed hearts. Love keeps us company, settling in beside the unlikely good or the unlikely bad that comes our way. The house struck by lightning and set fire in the middle of the night. The child lost. The immigration case that goes well or poorly. The lottery ticket in the car accident, the diagnosis and the deliverance from evil, none of it deserved, all of it happening, all the same. Love cannot fix everything, but it can keep us company. It can help us imagine ourselves through the perspective of others, the ones who won't give up, who whisper through the ages. Let's see what a little love can do. The poet Ellen Bass challenges her readers, and perhaps most especially herself, to love, even though it is hard, even though disappointment of one form or another is inevitable. Her exhortation, the opening lines of a longer poem, is to love life, to love it even when you have no stomach for it. And the Filipino author, T. de los Reyes, underlines that this tenacious love applies as much to our own selves as to anyone else. Sometimes, when I glance outside the window and I see the giant yoke of the sun sitting atop the clouds, I can almost understand why it is worth it. When I think of something funny and I start laughing until I'm crying, when I've eaten a good bowl of soup and I feel the warmth inside my body, when the rain falls gently and the fog moves in and the thunder feels more like a murmur than a rumble, I think, yes, this will do. And when you call me beautiful and it gives me the sweetest ache, I remember that I do, love myself, because I want to be here, because I want all this still. Courage, hope, and tenacity. Not the only qualities of love that you or I might be able to point to, but key elements, I would argue, nonetheless. In a few moments, we are going to hear a song from the chorus. It's a song from the Gullah community, the culture created by enslaved people from Africa and their descendants on the sea islands off the coasts of South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida. The Gullah people survived brutal, inhumane conditions for generations, forced to work largely on rice plantations. but they also managed to preserve elements of culture and language from the numerous different West African societies that they and their ancestors were stolen from. The Gullah are a living culture. They persist into the present day, preserving their own Creole language and a rich inheritance of handcraft, oral tradition, and song. Preserving their own culture against the system of slavery, so determined to exterminate all traces of African language and knowledge, anything that might prove useful to the oppressed against their oppressors, most certainly required courage and hope and tenacity. These are hallmarks of love, but they are not a simple summary of what love does, of its purpose in our lives. For that, I will look to a story attributed to Meister Eckhart, the late medieval theologian and accused heretic. It's a story about a donkey who labored hard and worried much about whatever it is that donkeys worry about. But from time to time, the monotony was broken by a kindly monk who would visit its paddock with the treat of a pear, but more so of a kind greeting and a friendly pat on the head. In those peculiar moments, the donkey seemed to laugh as though it were entirely free. Because, said the Meister, love does that. Love frees.
Oh, day, oh, day, Come on, day. Come on, day. Come on, day. Day done broke into my soul. Yonder come day. Day done broke into my soul. Yonder come day.
I invite you into this time of giving and receiving, where we give freely and generously to this offering that sustains and strengthens our community here and also our outreach offering recipient, who this week is Centro Hispano of Dane County. Centro's mission is to empower youth, strengthen families, and engage the community so that Latinx families reach their personal goals and feel engaged and strengthened with the tools for success. There are multiple ways to share your gifts this morning. Baskets are now being passed here in the auditorium for cash or checks, or as you can see on the screen, that you can donate directly from our website, fusmadison.org. You will find our text to give information there as well. We thank you for your generosity and your faith in this life that we create together.
Each week we gather, carrying in our hearts the joys and the losses of our days. We hold our own pain and celebration together with those of the ones we love. We share these here, knowing that they are held gently in care and in support and in love. We light a candle for Susan Weil, who is sad to share that she has a recurrence of pancreatic cancer. We send her our wishes for strength and healing as she begins chemotherapy. We light a candle of memory and loss for the passing of Dar Henson just this past week. Dar loved First Unitarian Society. She was a frequent attendee here for as long as she could, up until very recently, in fact. She loved the music, she loved the space, she loved the people. She will be deeply missed. We light a candle of ongoing lament for the violence which plagues our world. Fervently we yearn for peace here at home and around the globe. And we light a candle for all those joys and sorrows, hopes and dreams that remain unspoken in the silent sanctuaries of our hearts. I invite you now to turn with me both inward and outward as we enter together into an attitude of meditation and of prayer with these words of blessing from Becky Brooks. Spirit of life, I have witnessed a loud love, an out loud love that challenges me. I did not recognize it at first, the rumble of an ocean I had long been under, but here it is right now, and it looks just like the whole world could be. It doesn't play nice. Why should it when nice has only ever played it a lullaby? This love demands. A love so loud it lays rocks at the feet of children who can't find their path home across the pipeline any other way. This love is indifferent to tolerance. It invites you into your own heart where God, love self, has come to take tea with you. Drink and know that, like that other love, this love always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. This out loud love makes no secret of its aim to get you free. But first, set fires, throw the poison to the ground, match the love, sound for sound. Spirit of life, Come and bring everyone. We are giving birth to something new. Amen.
There is love holding us. There is a love holding all that we are. There is a love holding all we rest in His And now let's rise in body and or in spirit to sing together from our gray hymnal number 289, Creative Love. Our thanks we give, we'll sing verses 1, 2, and 4. 1, 2, and 4. Creative love, our thanks we give, that this our world is incomplete, that struggle breeds our will to live, that work awaits our hands and feet, that we are not yet fully wise, that we are in the making still, as friends who share one enterprise, and strive to blend with nature's will. Since what we choose is what we are, and what we love it shall be, the goal may ever shine afar, the will to reach it makes us free.
Go in hope, for the arc of the universe is long, and we can bend it towards justice. Go in courage, for together we have the strength to confront injustice in our daily lives and the larger world. Go in love, because a holy and generous love is both the reason and the means by which we transform our lives.